difficult to share things with them because they're under mind control. And they will usually attack people who throw them a life raft because their concepts are wrong, not because they mean to be wrong or not because they're ungrateful. They just don't know. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is why it's difficult to remedy the world. This is why it's difficult to uplift the world. So don't think that the masses are just arrogantly ignorant and ungrateful. They do not know. Problem is that the leaders do. Problem, the masses always defend the leaders and the images. Are we clear? So it makes it difficult for rescuers or walk-ins to help the people. And the priesthood have depended on maintaining and managing the ignorance of the masses in order for the priesthood to rule the planet. We're not just talking about government, we're talking planet. And we're not just talking about this planet, we're talking about a couple other planets. But we need not go there right now. Right now our job is to deal with those on this planet. Are we clear? This is bigger than you think it is. Much bigger than you think it is. Much deeper than you think it is. But the important thing for us to do is to deal with the surface. Meaning that you cannot be prepared for anything outside of this planet when you're not prepared to deal with this planet.
Islam.
Clear.
Clear.
In other words, it's sort of like when you hear the old Kabbalistic statement, how dare you claim to love a God that you do not see and love not your brothers and sisters whom you see by the day. So it is in principle. Let's not worry about what's on the dark side of the moon. Let's worry about what's on the dark side of this planet that's kept you from developing. Fix that, and then we can worry about the dark side of the moon. Are we clear?
Clear.
However, that is affecting you right now. Are we clear?
Clear.
However, don't get distracted. People, as you begin to develop and ascend, you're going to be not just going through a lot of political issues, you're going to be going through energy issues.
Islam.
And so, you're going to sometimes begin not liking certain foods you used to like, and liking certain foods that you didn't like, but vice versa from flipping. That's because the energy on the planet is changing. It's also because you're under the lower area of the fourth dimension. Things that are in the third dimensional degrees are not going to be functioning as well as they used to, so don't get confused about the confusion. Are we clear? I will repeat myself. Don't get confused about the confusion.
Islam.
But understand part of the confusion is because you're changing. Are we clear?
Clear.
And the issue with this energy this time is that the masses are changing. And it has nothing to do with you being wrong. Or something's wrong with you, although things can be wrong. So it's just kind of like a flip thing. This is so that you have a better comprehension, so that you can try to stay focused. Because the dark priesthood business is to keep you scattered and not focused. So you're going to have to fight yourself.
Islam.
Because they're fighting you. You just didn't know that they're fighting you. Are we clear?
Clear.
And so I'm telling you these things because they're tools for you. Are we clear?
Clear.
One of the things that we want to do, I want to take them through a little bit of history, and then we'll go through the ceremony. All right. Great Seal. Many of you may have not have heard of it, but now we're going to deal with the order of the Siyaraha. Can you give us a reading for today?
Yes.
Hassan will be acting Siyaraha today. Generally, the Siyaraha will be a woman. Are we clear?
Clear.
And she is an MA, Master Astrologer. Like you see the button that you have at the crown?
Mother NAILAH.
All right. It's Moorish American, Master Astrologer, Master Alchemist. So there are degrees in this. And understand that many of the people that know this will never tell you this because they usually want to get in your pockets
Islam.
or your pants or both
Islam.
or others. Many of the people who have been in position of authority have problems with me because I don't play with them.
Islam.
You know, my mother sent me to do a job, I'm going to do what my mother sent me to do. They're going to do what their mother sent them to do.
Islam.
So opposition, I expect. However, I came with the tools I needed. You know, I don't worry about them and I don't battle with them because I already understand that. You know, my mother sent me very well prepared. So Yara, will you give us a reading?
Yes, I can.
Please.
Islam.
Now, I'm doing ad hoc conversation in between, but understand sequentially this would have already taken place. This is to get you in order. This is to get you familiar with what you will be doing in your consular orders and also in your majlis orders. Are we clear? And I'll be explaining some things to you later. Islam.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
All right. Very briefly, just wanted to give you currently where the planets are now so that we know what energies we are actually moving and operating on currently. I am reading from one software that I use, it's Celeste 1.2. Okay? To get to it briefly, applying Moon trine Jupiter. This is an aspect that I'm reading, and this is how it's affecting not only us here, but the entire planet. All right? Applying the Moon trine Jupiter, which means that the Moon is within 120 degrees aspect to Jupiter, currently in both of their transits. What this means for us, demonstrations of generosity, benevolence, successful actions, and even luck are associated with this transit. Good attitudes make for successful collaborations in social situations now. Applying Mercury sextile Neptune. Mercury deals with communication, commerce, travel. Neptune deals with dreams and wisdom. And they're within 60 degrees of each other in aspect. Imaginative and inspired conversations, discussions that lead to closure, future planning, and are appropriate now. Venus, void in Gemini, which means currently it is transiting from Gemini until it reaches Cancer. A planet is void when it is no longer aspecting another planet while it transits apparently from one sign to another. How does Venus void in Gemini affect us? Venus is beauty, harmony, and affections, and art and love. Gemini deals with communication. It deals with the lungs, arms, and shoulders as well. And is ruled by Mercury. Venus void in Gemini, strong emotions, precipitate actions. Risks are taken that may not be supported by others. Impulsive decisions later prove troublesome. Matters of love and sex seem compulsive. In general, emotional and cultural matters are important themes now. Okay? Applying Mars squares Jupiter. Mars is action. Jupiter is mental exploration and higher education. Mars, within 90-degree aspect that's square to Jupiter, reads for us on the planet today, ego energies need constructive areas of expression. Overconfidence in one's beliefs and urges for action can create problems. There is a tendency now for people to impose their views on others with a high probability of conflict and disagreement. Applying Jupiter trine Neptune. This may be a time of spiritual optimism, idealism, high hopes, and inflated expectations. Ideologies and beliefs will motivate and spur people on toward distant horizons. There may be news of explorations of new territories. I want to speak on that one in a second briefly. And reports of research on difficult moral and legal problems. That's what you're here for today. You're part and parcel to the land, so your body is that territory that you're exploring. Saturn void in Capricorn. Once again, when a planet's void is transitioning from one sign to another. Saturn void in Capricorn, not making any aspects to any other planets, means formalities are the rule. Traditions are maintained. Groups of old friends, family, and comrades assemble to remember the past. Conservatism rules, experiments fail. At this time, leaders are under pressure and laws are put into effect. It's a time for staying with tradition and not experimenting with new forms of social behaviors. The past triumphs. Applying Uranus trine Saturn. We all know that Uranus has appeared to transit down from Aries to Taurus, going from the head to the throat. Okay? Dealing with self, now dealing with our personal finances, beauty, harmony, and affections. Well, being there in Taurus. Social structures are changing now and important, though controversial. Decisions are being made by leaders. This transit brings gains for some and losses for others. This may also be a time of practical technological advances. Also, real wake minds, cameras, lights, and stuff. Okay. Alrighty. Applying this last to everyone. Applying Neptune sextile Pluto. Okay, so we know Neptune is dealing with wisdom and dreams. Sextile is 60 degrees in aspect to transformation and power. It's Pluto. This is a time of important developments on an international and transcultural level. Typical events include challenges to governments and the beginnings of new cultural movements. Lastly, Pluto void in Capricorn. There is movement toward displaying outright power. Tolerance and patience are pushed aside in favor of drastic actions. Old wounds are reopened and confrontations forced. Power plays occur. Secret forces make their presence known. Some seek to act on their urges. Others attempt to stop. Deep secrets are revealed. A collective cleansing is in order. I yield the floor. Islam?
Islam. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the old Canaanite temple, or the Moorish Temple of Science, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, those great civic organizations, and then the latter one-year operation of the Moorish Science Temple of America, when Drali was forced to make changes in order to protect the movement for you all.
Islam.
Because most of you weren't born in the flesh at that time. Giving you a background of the Order of the Great Seal as an order. Now, the movement logically is not logical in morality, but politically, was infiltrated to be neutralized. Because you're dealing with the world's largest estate. The people in general, yourself, and all of you represent thousands and actually millions of others. On the planet and in different areas, there will be some people that will be having this conversation that we're having, but very few. Some would have mentioned these things, but most of them will not step up to be blunt with you as I'm being blunt with you now. Which is another reason why we're being blunt with you now. Is because we know that many people should have told you some of these things years ago, have been playing it safe. Others are compromised. Others are afraid because they fear Rome, not their ancient mothers and fathers, nor the divine, though they always usually profess the divine. So I'm going to tell you things that you know, and maybe some things that you don't know. And this is to help you along Because as many of you have been declaring your proclamation of your nationality, very often we get questions, which is logical. What do we do with this? Who we send them to, etc. And you'll hear me often say, study them. Now, we debated years ago. As a matter of fact, early this morning, yesterday, I was talking with one of the brothers of the Order of the Great Seal. As a matter of fact, the brother is one of the major movers in the Order of the Great Seal. And it was actually at his chambers where I was elected by peoples from about 7 different states, territories in the area as the Mirror of the Great Seal of Shakti territory, which you know as New Jersey. Abdullah Iltumin Mosey Bey is one of the brothers that came in early after my election, and is one of the most sincere brothers I've ever met and that I've traveled with. I've dealt with a lot of people. But Brother Abdullah has a master's degree in sociology, and they were preparing him for ministry. Very well studied brother. And I remember he used to come to my house, and he came to my house with my cousin. And it's an interesting thing that last night I was with my cousin's sister's son, who at that time was just about a baby, little toddler. And he's become awake. That's another story. You all know him, Dre. Now, Abdullah came to my house. I used to give lessons 3 days a week. I used to feed people, give them free literature, and I did it for years until it broke me. That was my sacrifice.
Islam.
And at that time, I moved classes from my house to Trenton Avenue. The sister I was with, her uncle was in Scientology. He was high in the degrees of Scientology. And I, talked with him, and I just blew his stuff out the water. And he became high dib for the round table until he passed. Now, Abdullah had questions logically because he's always studied. He wasn't. One of the things that's very interesting about this brother, I hope you don't mind me talking about him, but I'm just being honest, well-read, etc. But he had a little bit of that spell cast on him, so when he came in the door, I reckon I saw that aura anyway, And he was inquisitive, correctly so. And I already kind of saw the shadow beyond him, and I knew it was some priest. Right? So I sent 7 questions with him to take back to the ministry who were preparing him for the ministry. Within 3 weeks, he left that church.
Islam.
And the energy that you see now is the energy that he began with. Brother used to come knock on my door, night or day. I'd give brother a key. He'd come at the foot of my bed and he'd talk me to sleep. Now I'm a night bird. No was like 2 or 3 hours of rest, I'm good. His brother, and that's went on about 3 years. And a lot of lessons I prepared for my children, actually. And Abdullah asked me to start sharing them with the public. And that's some of the lesson books that you see. But anyway, Brother Abdullah is interesting. He's been around and he can give you a lot of background. A lot of times, He's doing a lot of work. But as far as the operations of the Order of the Great Seal, he's had some background experience in it. So he's seen people come, he's seen people go. Seen people come make fireworks, big splash, and most of them that you don't see because they got dirty. Are we clear?
Clear.
I love that brother because he has integrity. You know what I mean? He has integrity.
Islam.
Yes. And that's what we want in the Order of the Great Seal. Are we clear?
Clear.
One of the things we debated about is like the proclamation papers that you have that we put on the flash drive. That's about maybe the 5th iteration. In the future, I'll bring some of the old documents up if I can find some of them. Some of them got damaged in fire, but I still have some of the old stuff. And the latest modifications that I gave to you all is basically back to Order of the Great Seal. You'll see them with the flag, with the trading banner, and you'll see them with the Continental. When the Continental, because that's Great Seal.
Islam.
That's the one that's on your flash drive.
Islam.
The one with the flag is still Great Seal, but that's Moorish Science Temple and Great Seal. Are we clear?
Clear.
The operators who have obligation to trusts are in breach and have been in breach. And because you all have been studying quite hard, which is also why I started giving you the Great Seal version.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Although I'll seal both of them. Are we clear? I'm telling you what Great Seal is.
Clear.
All right, so it doesn't mean that one is better than the other.
Islam.
There were a few typos on the other one, and I just simply cleaned it up because it's my job to do that. I'm the mirror.
Islam.
And in different territories of the country, I've given seals to people to help get the work done. We also have the problem where certain people start thinking they own those seals and think they own you.
Right.
And put pressure on you and conditions on you.
Islam.
You are in violation of Great Seal. Are we clear?
Clear.
Essentially, in the normal order of things, we would go through more formal activity in relationship to bringing members into the Great Seal. So while you have Great Seal papers, does not necessarily mean you're a member of Great Seal.
Islam.
It is more or less a soldier's effort to aid the people. So actually, I breached protocol and started sharing that information.
Islam.
And then knowing that I'd be under the pressure of trying to rush to teach people. So we need people who are honorable, who will study, who will share information and kind of fix things. Because keep in mind, when you begin to do work, they have travelers, or what you call jumpers. And some people call them remote viewers.
Islam.
You know, and so we're talking the real politics on the planet, not what you've been told. So whenever we're doing things, you know, they already have priests out there.
Yes.
And the only reason why some of these things have been going on for so long is because we're stronger than they expected us to be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Which is why we're still talking.
Islam.
Because if it was up to them, I would have been going a long time ago.
Islam.
You know, but my mother sent my sisters as my protectors, too. You know, so all of my sisters have always been my protectors. You know, and then my niece is also my mother's spirit, who I just talked to. You know, that's my mama. That's my mama, that's my baby, that's my niece. I'm her uncle, daddy, son. You know, that's how it works. But the deal of it is, and then plus, they can't buy me.
Islam.
You know what I mean? So if I seem a little eccentric to you sometimes, it's because I'm disconnected on certain areas here.
Islam.
All right? My own personal difficulties happen to live in 2 areas. You know what I mean? So you don't want to go too far out left field so people will not understand. You know, but actually, my connection on this level is kind of like adjustments. Put it that way.
Islam.
But the deal of it is, we all have work to do. And the issue is for you to come to a realization of what your work is to do. Some of you will ascend, some of you will not. It's up to you, basically. Some of you will desire to experience the third dimensional energies continued or again, but you must also understand that the third dimensional energies for this particular planet are leaving. Are we clear?
Clear.
And so you have to, I wouldn't say that you have to, because you really don't have to, but it's in your best interest to accelerate. A lot of things that we're doing, we will not be doing in the future. And a lot of things that we're doing now is actually behind schedule. And this has much to do with why I put this stuff on the flash drive. Because there's also people that have been working with us that's been doing great work, but they also have a selfish side.
Islam.
And so it's another reason why I put that stuff out there, because I already knew what they were going to do. You know, and to protect you.
Islam.
You know, but don't be angry at anyone, but just understand, I want you to understand why certain things I do.
Islam.
And why certain things seem to be what you call schismatic, and they're really not, but they may appear to you be that way. Because a lot of times what I try to do is, I try to do help, but I don't micromanage.
Islam.
I seek people who have good spirit, honor, and trust that they recognize the markers that are in them. That's the energy that their mother put in them. And I'm kind of like an agitator, you know, and an observer too, you know. So I try to agitate people to activate their DNA. You know, so most of the time when I'm talking to people, I'm really not talking to their physical, I'm talking to another side.
Islam.
You know, so a lot of times if I appear out to lunch, I'm just being honest with you, that's why. All right, so you'll know. So you don't have to figure that out. You don't have to guess it. Then a lot of times I'll deliberately shut down because I don't want to know.
Right.
Not that I can't know.
Islam.
Do you understand? Because I like to play fair. But the deal of it is that we need among us awakens. You have some walk-ins, you have some jumpers. Most of them won't necessarily talk. Some of them act. But understand, don't get caught into hiding things because nothing's hidden. That's number one. So, you know, just get over that. Much that needs to be done has to be done in an energy of sincerity.
Islam.
That's where your power is. Are we clear? And we're telling you that so that you can bypass a lot of the BS that you're going to run into. So don't look at the opposition as, oh man, this is terrible, like that. It comes with the territory.
Islam.
All right? Are we clear?
Clear.
But I don't want to ramble on. I'm just throwing some of these things at you because some of the stuff you already know. But for some people who don't know, we want to help them along. Because some of the people that will come into this knowledge, what some people may appear to be late in the game, do not measure time that way. Don't look at things that way.
Islam.
Meaning that you can, like, see this baby here, these babies, because they got small bodies, don't get it twisted. Them spirits are old.
Ancients return.
Yeah. This is why the Romans are seeking to kill the babies off. Are we clear?
Clear.
So you must be cognizant of that, and also in your mind, protect them. And in time, you'll recognize you don't always need your hands. You know, but you must always try to stay on the side of honor, because if you don't, what you energize can come back and get you.
Islam.
All right? This is the battle that we all have. Are we clear?
Clear.
And it will accelerate so that you don't get caught with surprises. Are we clear?
Clear.
Again, you know, like sometimes people say, well, where do you send these papers to? You send them to you. When the student is ready, the master will appear. The master is self.
Islam.
The helpers and the jumpers that are here are simply agitators. Some are observers. Are we clear?
Clear.
We need to accelerate because the dark priesthood are accelerating. Much that we're doing now is only temporal, but it's sort of like playing catch up. But don't doubt yourself. You have everything you need. It's just that you've been put on so strongly by the dark priesthood that you need help. Are we clear?
Clear.
So while we're going into this venture, it's not a new venture. Truth, it's not a new venture. You know, it's another thrust.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
And it's really a chess move to counter Rome.
Islam.
For people who think that they can beat Rome, heads up, forget it. Don't go there. You know, you're given in your hands some nails to put in Rome's coffin.
Islam.
My agitating you is to give, or because I can't give it to you, but to inspire you to have enough courage to put the nail in the coffin.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
But the problem that you have is a lot of them vampires look like you and me too.
Islam.
You understand what I'm saying? Because they've been feeding on you for quite a while.
Islam.
And the other issue is that some of these vampires have this attitude that they have a right to feed on you. It's not so much that they're just feeding on you. They think that they have a right to feed on you. So a lot of people, you know, when you start talking and sharing this information with the people, the real history, etc., they actually get angry at you.
Yes.
Not because it's a lie. You'll see them attack. They won't call it a lie. They'll say, the prophet didn't say that. That ain't the right thing. You know, that's confusion. They won't call it a lie. Because if they do, they're caught.
Islam.
They just didn't want you to get it. And they still don't want you to have it. Although it's in you, I'm just like smacking you around a little bit. All right? But once you really understand what this stuff is, I'm suggesting to you, it's a nature to you to get angry, but don't get angry. Use the anger as fuel.
Islam.
Use the attacks as fuel. Are we clear?
Clear.
Because it's all energy. But use it as fuel. Don't let them distract you. Because that's one of the major things they're going to be doing. All right? Trying to distract you. Because that buys them time. Are we clear? On an ethereal level, they've already lost.
Mm-hmm.
However, before they go out, they're going to do as much damage as they can. Are we clear?
Clear.
So what we want you to do is to get on your high energy side. But don't take arrogance with you when you go there. It will damage you. It will damage you. All right? So, now, Rudder and Sextant. You see this, Rudder and Sextant? It used to be a little 4x6 little pamphlet, you know, the same size as you see Quran type thing, you know, little lesson books. And in like 89, 90 area, we used to go up to the land of Nod, where they used to have the meetings. Land of Nod is what you call New York area. All right? And the Moors of the different attic chambers from around the country, and other privy council would meet. As a matter of fact, they used to meet in a trailer, not in the house. They used to meet, special meetings they would have in a trailer. And then other meetings on live release they'd have in the house. And one of the brothers, Bashara, and I used to come up, and Abdullah, I used to go up to New York, and many of you may have known her, Sister Rashida Bey. She has dolls in the museum. She's got a lot of awards for that. She's the Siyaraha of the Order of the Great Seal.
Islam.
You know, and she is one of the master astrologers who teach master astrologers who teach other master astrologers.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Sister Daria Bey, whose family has been in the Moorish movement since actually prior to the time of Noble Drawley set up the old Canaanite temple, because you already know a lot of the members of the Powhatani Confederation,
Yes.
and the Hanaanasi Confederation, you know, would preserve the ancient Moabite knowledge, but most of them were hiding behind the label Indian. They're not Indians. There's a label Europeans put on the Moors. Keep this in mind, but many of them preserve the culture. She had given me a copy of the Quran and the questionary. Of course, when I went into them, you know, I did what I always did. I always dive into, to me, the books are water. And I go in the book and come from behind the letters. That's how I always did. I never go in that way. I go in it and I come from the backside. And when you do, you can see things meant to be said, things that are not meant to be said, see where people staying safe, see things that are left out, and you can look at the spirit of the writer.
Islam.
You know, so when she gave me the books, they were talking, hallelujah to you, praise Allah, I saw a totally different man. I saw a man in trade, you know, and I saw his missionary work. So even though I was teaching anyway, because I always had a library, you know, since I was 7.5, that just simply gave me another platform. That's why in certain areas you see me passionately defending them.
Islam.
Good point.
Islam.
And so when we bought that building, it used to be an old Elks Lodge. 711 Kane Avenue, the 7th Street. That was the number. Had a big stage, big auditorium, 3 floors, 12 light skylight on the 3rd floor, etc. We bought the building at a time when developers were coming from New York and all around the area, the Camden area, and they were buying building shells for 80 and 90,000 notes for shells, half tore down buildings. And that building was one of the buildings up for auction. And we're talking that was for the regular houses, not for big commercial buildings like that. But anyway, with Dooley, who was always in my corner, you know, at one of the roundtable meetings, we used to have it broken into 3 levels. Orientation, then you had mid-level, and then you had advanced. And many people who we've taught over the years have used the roundtable methodology or platforms in the way they've instructed. And some people you all know, who I won't mention, you know, were doing that, and they were charging people exorbitant finance, which we did not agree with. You know, it takes finance to get things done. You know, and they stole seals and were doing some other stuff. Wow. Which is why you don't see them out, but they're very popular. People look at, you know, them and know that they have very good abilities. And that's the major problem that we've had. People come in very intelligently, skills and everything, and then they start mixing or overriding the economics in front of the cause, it gets corrupt at that point.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
It takes finance to raise a nation. Don't get this twisted. Servant is worthy of his hire. However, when it goes beyond reasonability and becomes a profit-oriented venture, it gets corrupt.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Great Seal rebuts that type of operation. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, fundamentally, when you come into the order of the Great Seal, you would do what is called a biology or autobiology card. And that would give a background, that would give your day, degree,
Yes.
time, location of your born day when your mother brings you. And of course, the Siyaraha will use that. It would also give a background of your general studies, and a candidate would present you before the chamber. And you would only be introduced one at a time. Are we clear?
Clear.
And that person who presents you would be your guardian to guide you as you develop. Are we clear?
Clear.
To make sure that you have all of your tools, your books, your background, etc. Send you to Siyaraha, you'd have your chart ready,
Islam.
built. Are we clear?
Clear.
And then we develop you. But the principle of the operations of the Great Seal, and this is where sometimes people who really don't understand different things that they see, so I'm going to explain to you so that you'll know. Great Seal does not promote imagery. Are we clear?
Clear.
We have tools and we have garb that are Moorish. However, Great Seal does not promote you to lose your personality to meet an image of an order. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear?
Clear.
You maintain the integrity of your personality. Although you may use instruments, tools, and garb that represent the nation and yourself. Are we clear?
Clear.
Most orders take people and try to choke their personality out of them and make cookie cutters out of them.
Islam.
That's not Great Seal.
Islam.
That's dogma.
Islam.
That's forced servitude.
Islam.
Islam is not compulsory. Islam dogma is compulsory though. Are we clear?
Islam. Clear.
Are we clear?
Clear.
True Islam is not compulsory. Are we clear?
Clear.
So on another level, and I won't linger on it, you must know the difference between science and creed dogma. Are we clear?
Clear.
They will clash, although they're built on the same principle. Are we clear?
Clear.
Person in dogma tries to enslave people to meet imagery, not spirit, or imagery.
Yes.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Great Seal does not deal on that level. That is juvenile and it's irrelevant to truth. All right?
Clear.
It seeks for you to be the best that you can be. And trust that you will do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Sincerely. Are we clear?
Clear.
And there's rules of order. I'm just throwing this out at you loosely because you need to know what this is about. Some things we don't do formally because it takes too much time and we need you to move quicker than normal. In other words, it's sort of like we're in a storm. We don't have time, for gift wrapping the peanut butter sandwich. We need the people fed, so we may not throw the blanket down the grass. Just give you a sandwich while you're standing by the tree. But we out there in the park. Having our picnic.
Indeed.
So some things that you see me do are less formal than we would usually do it. It's for a purpose. Are we clear?
Clear.
Expediency purpose. Are we clear?
Clear.
Some questions that you have about your papers and stuff you can ask, because they're important, because we want everybody to comprehend this. Now, we debated because of the process, because normally you would not necessarily deal with those proclamations as you see them without you having in your possession their certificates as registered in the Library of Congress, the world's largest library, dealing with AA 222141, Nationality Identification Card for Moorish Americans, ATC, Zodiac Constitution, etc. But as a quick synopsis, CNB registered them as a countermeasure to the COINTELPRO operations that infiltrated the Moorish movement with the intent of those infiltrators neutralizing Nodrali's work or slowing it down. They could not stop it, but they slowed it down. This is why you see a lot of people that claim to be lovers of Nodrali hate Great Seal.
Mm-hmm.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Not because it's wrong, because they know in due time he will expose them. Are we clear?
Clear.
They don't need to be angry if they're honorable, or if they had honorable intent, or if they've been maintaining the charter of the Moorish Science Temple of America as Nodrali set up, and maintained the press as the illustrious prophet set up. If they had read and would continue to read the letter that he commanded to be read before every meeting, which they do not read. So those are a lot of things you'll learn along the way. So understand certain schisms that you see are really political background of COINTELPRO operations.
Islam.
You'll hear them talk about the great sellout and then not tell you about what that great sellout is. Are we clear?
Clear.
So some of the schism you see is actually in the background that we don't always talk about because we don't want to discourage you. Because you need to know that this is bigger than us, it's bigger than you.
Islam.
Islam.
And while you may look at this stuff as stuff, when we speak, they're listening in the darkest chambers
Yes.
Islam.
around this planet
Islam.
and off the planet.
Islam.
Don't you ever doubt it. Are we clear?
Clear.
And just because some things you don't understand, don't underestimate your value or who you are. And don't get caught up in personalities. Stay true to cause. Stay true to principle.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
They will come and they will go.
Islam.
Stay true to principles. Are we clear?
Clear.
Stay true to principles and you'll stay safe.
Islam.
Get off the path of the principles and then you get in the areas where the vampires can stick their straw in your neck.
Islam.
Which they're going to try to do anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, that's how they work. But the deal of it is so that you can last. All right?
Yes.
Most of you who are here, if you can last in the next few years, you won't have anything to worry about on some other levels.
Islam.
Because most of the injury stuff that you deal with now will be eliminated or moved out of the way. Most of the sickness on this planet is artificial.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
These are fundamental truths. So dark priesthood wants you to think that how we've been living is how this life is. It's not true. It hasn't been true. All right, the bodies you have are vessels, but those vessels are designed for roughly between 700, 900, 1,000 years.
Islam. Islam.
You know, they're actually biological machines.
Islam.
Not you, they're vehicles for you.
Exactly.
However, you know, we've been under this corruption for so many generations that people start thinking that this is how things are. Right? However, we're in an area now, and this is where you see me sometimes talking about when we're reading charts, and I'll just say let's keep it simple.
Yes.
and it's not that we neglect that,
Islam.
is that the whole body is being swept with a big broom.
Yes.
And so while the individual charts are important, it is the overall prayer and light that's actually bigger than all of this.
Islam.
And it's pushing everybody
Islam.
and everything. And so you're under pressure to advance or become fodder. In other words, if you're not useful, you simply become fuel for other life forms.
Islam.
Are we clear? Now, those who are not reformable will just simply be extinguished. And this is the energy that you will find under Uranus and Saturn.
Islam.
You're not only going to cash the checks, but everything that claims to be whatever it is, you will have to prove it this time.
Islam.
So don't write checks that you can't cash, or that you don't want to cash. That's kind of euphemism, if you kind of say it. But I'm going to throw this at you. The Rudder and Sextant, and you don't see this, and I didn't want to project anything, so I didn't prepare anything that way. But symbolically, the Rudder and Sextant is where you get the general term that you see, ship of state, in national orders. Understand the European didn't set up government, you did. Understand that the European is running the imperial divan, he's just given different names. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear?
Clear.
He's modified and corrupted some things, but generally, in general, the structure is proper, it's ancient, and ain't nothing wrong with it. It just needs to be run right. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Do not get caught up in that usual thing that you see a lot of people saying, that's the white man's thing. It is the white man's thing, but you're the white man.
Islam.
You know, and you need to know it's a status. It has nothing to do with complexion. Are we clear?
Clear.
On another level, the European just traded places with you. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is why, and because Uranus and Saturn's effect on the planet so strong now, which is why you see the Queen of England starting to kind of soften the aggravation that people are having around the world concerning Meghan and that so-called royal marriage type thing. The masses are looking at the point that she's mixed and she's being brought into the royal family. The real truth is in reverse.
Islam.
It's really Meghan who's the real royal,
Right.
Yes.
and they are imposters.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, why her father said that he's not going to attend the wedding, I'm just throwing these snippets in here. He may have his reasons. I don't know what they may be, and I'm not knocking it. You know, some thinking he knew some things, you know, that she's being contaminated by dealing with him. Where's the world looking at it? Reverse. And so you'll see the Queen start making, and I've heard some Europeans talking about the Queen showing some of the original pictures of Charlotte, you know, to encourage Meghan, you know, because of all that general energy that they do, telling the real, in other words, they're signifying the real history.
Right.
And so you'll see them talk about her Castilian background, and then you'll see the Europeans talking about, yeah, she's Moorish, because that is the noble.
Islam.
You know, but the deal of it is you need to know that it's really you. And the estate has been run by them for quite some time under the secret treaty of Verona. And they're under pressure to release the estate. Problem that we have that you, when we talking you, we're talking about people all around. You just represent them. Are generally incompetent to comprehend what's really going on this planet. Are we clear? And so the sooner we can get a grand body of you competent, the sooner we can rush this thing along, because after we get to a certain level, even though it ain't a lot of people, all of this stuff that we're doing going to be dropped. And you're going to be thrust into a whole other dimension of operation. But the energy that you're projecting now is dismissing Rome. Rome must be dismissed. But you, the heirs, must do it. We can't do it for you. You must confess your own.
Islam.
That's why you're here. That's why you're doing them proclamation papers. Are we clear?
Clear.
But we also know that many of you comprehend it and comprehend more than some of you don't, or are confused. As long as you have questions, there's nothing wrong with questions, don't do anything with them. Do you understand? Now, if you're attacked, that's when you use them. When we decided to put 7 points on the websites for you to send these papers to, this was for you to create havoc in the stock market. In case that y'all didn't know that.
Islam.
It's not that you needed to send them to those 7 places. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a lot of people get their papers, who I sent them to? I didn't even, I really need, you know, I make you really understand. Yeah. The real deal is to get you to have done it. To purge you. Because really, when you really comprehend this, the sending really comes out with energies right from here into the Akashic record. It's according to your level of sincerity. But, you know, you got to go through the exercise so you can believe in you. No, really, that's really what it's for. But once you get past that, it's like the candy wrapper. It's not needed anymore. Do you understand? It's not that I'm not telling you to disrespect it. I'm telling you really what it's for. It's a tool. Are we clear? Yeah. And the reason we don't send you through all the formalities is because the dark side, and then some people on our side, are grubbing for you, and then trying to stagnate you as if they own you or own you the birthright, and trying to block your progress. This is why we put it on the flash drive.
Islam.
And we gave it to you. So understand, we said, well, shouldn't we be a little bit more formal? Truthfully, we're in the field of battle. We don't have a lot of time for a lot of formalities. Are we clear?
Clear.
That's the reason. So I want you to understand the reason. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear? Now, for the different orders, for the different positions that are in structured government, just like this, if we have an issue, you bring it to Majlis like this. You know, like when the prophet said, open and close your meetings according to the circle 7?
Yes.
And you see the cover of your circle 7? See the 7? And you see the circle with your 4 gates?
Yes.
All right, that's your zodiac bill.
Islam.
All right? Now, the deal of it is, that's symbolic, but we've already went through that, so you all kind of know what it is.
Yes.
However, you're not going to take that just on a casual level. You're really going to study it to really comprehend what it is. Are we clear?
Clear.
It's not all of it. Like Drew Ali, he tailored that specifically for us. Are we clear? So this is the most damaged areas where we are.
Clear.
That's what that circle 7 is for.
Islam.
However, there's still a chamber side to that. Are we clear?
Clear.
You'll do that in due time. All right? Key. Now let's get back to the order of business as it is right now. So whether the Sextant gives you a general understanding of legal discourse. General. This is very snippet. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is just to take you from a neophyte stage. This is not by no means all of it. Are we clear?
Clear.
And this is not all the Rudder and Sextant as presented. As Julie will tell you, some of the things we didn't complete in there because it was also a work in progress at the time. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, so I'm going to show you the cover, and you're going to, so that you all can be familiar. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear? so we're going to make that available to you. And some of the things that haven't been available to you, you all know the work that Dr. NAILAH has been doing in the background. America also. They stand up, y'all. Like like we're, doing these little things here, as sons. Well, the real power in government is actually the woman.
Islam.
And Moorish government and civilization on the planet is a matriarchy. They just send us out to do the building work, but they really run things. But again, we also understand that in Moorish culture, true Moorish culture, women are not suppressed.
Islam.
So we must understand that we must work to clean that mess up too.
Islam.
And you women got to stop delivering your babies to the priesthood, corrupting us in the first place, so that we can learn how to treat you right.
Islam.
You can learn how to treat us right.
Islam.
You understand?
All right.
Husband does not mean boss. Husband simply means the helper.
Exactly.
And the real truth is we used to take care of babies.
Islam.
I mean, y'all hook us up and stuff, but
Islam.
we're babysitters. We're housemen.
Islam.
Now you gave us the crown. I think it's around 48,000, somewhere around that cycle. When you gave us the crown, this is Corona Sol, crown of the sun.
Islam.
And so when you see people who really don't know the culture telling mothers they can't wear this, I don't need to tell you anything else. And you gave it to us.
Islam.
So let's get that twisted, untwisted. You get the point? So you're going to have to learn about that, etc. But anyway, so the Rudder and Sextant is a legal discourse and a fundamental structure, also a modulus. When you have issues to come together, you would meet in modulus. Things will come from your parliament, etc., according to rules of order, etc. The sovereignty issue that people keep on trying to muddy. You know why you see these people always trying to act like sovereignty is some kind of a dirty word or some kind of confusion thing? Is because it is the nature of the reflection of the divine. That is a right divine with you. When you come into a structure of government, you allocate some of that energy in honor to those who represent your interest, not you, your interest in a preformed, stated government delegated structure of service operation. That's why sovereignty has the power of life and death. Are we clear?
Clear.
It is the people's. The offices held on behalf of the people does not belong to the person who holds it.
Islam.
It belongs to the people at all times. You're going to have to learn about those things. Are we clear?
Clear.
All right. So I'm just throwing this at you. So get your common sense. Do not get enamored with people who are in a position of authority. They're your servants. It ain't the other way around. Are we clear?
Clear.
The Great Seal Order was set up as an operation around 1966, officially, although the Great Seal is ancient. Are we clear?
Clear.
And its order was to enforce the national and international principles and communications which are obligatory to your taking your places amongst the affairs of men. That's why you see the National Association of Moorish Affairs. That's what that's about.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
And I know many of you have heard one of the statements made by Noble Drawley. He said, we are teaching our people those things necessary to make them better citizens. Now, you know that must be qualified, but it's brought to you to the degree that the people have comprehension, knowing that they had not been told. Are we clear?
Clear.
Which means civics. Are we clear?
Clear.
And to remind you of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who taught government structure, that gives you a pattern that you can look at. Are we clear?
Clear.
Although all of those things need to be refined. Basically, it gives you a fundamental background. Are we clear?
Clear.
All right, Great Seal deals with that. Are we clear?
Clear.
All right, so that's what Great Seal order is, all right? And so it is essentially, even on another level, Moors who have come through many different organizations, and if you have any intelligence, we already know it won't take long for you to tire of grade school. Are we clear?
Clear.
So you can look at the Great Seal order also as collage
Islam.
and university.
Islam.
So after you have a collage of information and you start recognizing people are unqualified to really teach you, and you need to graduate, you don't get locked up into elementary levels, which they will try to do to you. Which is also why people haven't developed. Are
Islam.
we clear?
Clear.
And this is another reason why many of our people around the country have learned wrongly to identify themselves by their organizations and clubs and not by their pedigree
Exactly. Islam.
and their nation. Are we clear?
Clear.
You identify yourself by your appellation, family, nation. Institutions are subordinate and secondary and third dairy and fourth dairy. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, when you study our people overall, you'll see that most of them, the reason why you can't raise them is because they identify with their clubs and their organizations. Church, mosque, synagogue, order, and so it confuses them as to what the real cause of the Moorish Divine National Movement is. That's why Raleigh had to remind the people that it's a Rotarian complexion. Means it's based in universal principles. And he remind you, he said, I'm a universal prophet. My philosophy will be universal. I only came to you more because you need me the most. So don't get it twisted. They don't own the prophet. You're just the first target. Are we clear?
Clear.
Because you're the hub of the wheel. Meaning that all of this crap that's going on the planet actually surrounds you. It's almost like you're the middle of the pinwheel. And because our people have been minimized, many of them don't perceive that. They can't wrap their head around it. Meaning that we've been made so minimal that we don't recognize our importance. Don't confuse the importance with arrogance, though. But you're the importance. You don't rise, they don't rise. This is why a lot of Europeans are, like the prophet told you, gonna make the European tell you the truth. Why a lot of Europeans are now telling you the true history. Why you see the Pope is telling you the true history. Why you see the Pope did the motu proprio in 2013. Why you see the Pope did a backup to the motu proprio to Obama in 14.
Yeah.
And why people who should be telling you these things aren't telling you these things. Those who are not telling you those things are people who've been benefiting from this corruption.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, quick synopsis. And this is redundant. Many of the other problems that we're not necessarily talking about, but that's in the background, has to do with the German Dutchman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and things that he made, agreements that he made. All right? We're talking about some off-world entities and stuff. But anyway, Dwight shut down Consular Court, and they were accelerating some things because they also recognized that this thing could go multiple ways. Are we clear?
Clear.
And so to safeguard their power structure, in other words, that's the Roman Inquisition operations that are continuing, that the masses thought ended, meaning the general masses were under the impression that the Spanish Inquisition and the Christian Crusades ended. The masses, they keep thinking back some hundreds of years. Are we clear?
Clear.
Fact is, they didn't end. Are we clear?
Clear.
They institutionalized them under other names. Are we clear?
Clear.
All right. So the injury continued on our people, and in order to divert you, the people, the target, from really having a clear comprehension of what you're dealing with, the priesthood promoted the term connotated racism and prejudice to keep you busy while you were still being raped. Are we clear?
Clear.
So when you comprehend the real history, you don't get caught up in that false paradigm. It's birthright theft. Are we clear? And denationalization, so that they could steal your estates. It's sanctum. This is redundant. You all already know that. So the deal of it is, when you become cognate and you become active with Great Seal, a lot of the other terms that used to be common in your language, you will discard them because they do not fit on that platform. So I'm clear. A little different than when you grow up, you put away your childish things. You know, we're impressed with all of you. But we're not going to ask the adults to get on stage and play with the blocks and spell cat. But we don't say throw the blocks away. And get them to the babies. You get the point? So, you all know the fundamental degrees of the three candlesticks. You all right, baby? You all right? So I'm not going to hold you up. Now, one of the things we wanted to do, which we've been doing for years, and is coming about. Now, Sister Light, Sister Sharon, Brother Slaymore, they can speak for themselves. You know, so I'm not going to try to speak for them. However, to some, you would call them newbies, when they're new. But they're really old spirits. You see, their mother and father prepared them too. You know, how you say the DNA wakes up and you start finding out who you really are. You understand? It's interesting when you really comprehend how things work. You can have people have knowledge for years and years and years, and they're like a hard shell nut that never cracks. Then you have some, you just toss it near dirt and water, and that shell opens up, and they just start blooming. That's them. That's them. And it is that way with many of you. Some people come into this movement, like the prophet said, the time will come when people will come to this movement with their eyes wide open, and we'll put some of you old Moors to the back of the room. That's what it means. That means this energy, the Aquarian energy does not tolerate that Piscean area spirit. It doesn't reject it. It's just as a new light.
Right.
And like I suggest you all read in your literature where the prophet wrote religious controversy and do some mark out on it. And notice when he talks about the sun stands at high noon, what it really means is that it casts no shadows. This is why, like the Siyaraha said, all things in the dark come into the light. So they no more shadows.
Islam.
You see, so in the interesting thing, if you understand dimensional energies, when you get in, because most things that are causal, like in this aggregate, third aggregate, are manifest in the fourth dimension. Although you jump up 6 and then come back, you don't go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't work like that. It's like 1, 2, 3, 6, 5, 4. It kind of works to the center type thing. Although there's more dimensions than that, generally. So most things are manifest in the fourth dimensional energy and cast through the earth. So when you start going past that third, the reason why all things open up is because the aggregate of the third dimensional constructs doesn't have any power in that area.
Islam.
So you can't hide stuff because all things are seen, like self-thing, in another way. You get the point. And then you're not dealing with what you call names as you see them. You're dealing with energy packages. You know, like energy packages.
Yeah.
You know? and things are more telepathic than they are worldly.
Yes.
Just a reminder to you. All right? So anyway, I'm going to not ramble on anymore. I'm going to turn the floor over to Consular General Slaymore. But first, I would like the mother to come up, please, if you will. We get somebody to babysit.
Yes.
Well, if they want to come up, we want them to. But that's important too. Thank you. Can you come up? Ma'am? Can you come up? Dr. Naila, you bring some limp chips up here. Because we need the mother energy. You know, and this is the truth. Also in Great Seal, understand this, and this is true. When we the sons, when we come together, Privy Council, and we're building your chambers, it's actually presented to the circle of mothers before it comes back to us.
Islam.
And then we act. Are we clear?
Clear.
So, again, we can't tell you everything or a lot of things in one session. I'm just trying to give you some overview so you can start getting the feel. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm just reminding you of some things that are buried in you already. Will all mothers stand, please?
All mothers.
All mothers.
All mothers.
Yes. Even babies. You mother.
You're a woman. That's what it means. If you have no physical children, that children are in your
They're
womb.
mothers. Now, we want to thank you all for bringing us here. And you know that all eggs are female.
Islam.
And every daughter is simply a reproduction of the mother.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
And every son that's produced from a daughter egg in order to preserve the race. This is why you outnumber us. Are we clear? So when you see in ancient culture when men had more than one woman, it's not because of lust. It's
Islam.
because of things. So those things will never be abused because everything done in a negative spirit creates negative beings.
Islam.
Are we clear? So
Clear.
are we clear?
Clear.
All right, so let's not get that part twisted. All right? We want to thank you all for bringing us here. We want you to remember yourselves. Go back to the principles of your ancient mothers and fathers, because when you all get it right, understand it will fall in place. We act, or we may seem to be in front of a lot of things as the male does. That's because everything sticks up with us.
Islam.
Push us out there to do things. But don't get that twisted. The rules are made from the throne of the queen.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
It would be well if you look within yourself and dismiss all of the things that you learned from Rome, which we call cattiness,
Please, mommy.
that causes you to divide from yourselves. And then remember, everything that we do in general, and it's not that we're not responsible, because we are. But whatever we do generally as sons, we do for mothers, girlfriends, wives, nieces, daughters.
Islam.
Men act because women project us to act.
Islam.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Truthfully, we're kind of like your servants.
Period.
So even when we're assholes,
Yes.
we're servants.
Yes.
Indeed.
Let's be real. You got to understand life. You know, so we're being blunt, we're being down to earth. So when you get together, we'll get together. Are we clear?
That's that second
Clear.
principle in action. Truth.
And we want to honor you for bringing us here. We want you to remember yourselves and remember that we fell because you fell.
Yes.
But that doesn't make us as sons innocent. And
Islam.
don't get this twisted. So this is why, like, the dark priesthood will always misrepresent the books and the history and try to blame Eve or the feminine principle for the source of evil. That's not true.
Islam.
Though you are called the God of good and evil. Do you understand?
Yes. Comprehend.
Oh, clearly, it means you have the capacity of both. When woman is not in her higher self, she is most dangerous.
Islam.
She becomes what is called the black widow spider.
Islam.
She will devour and drop the carcass. That's why a lot of men are scared of you.
Islam.
Well, it's true. I mean, and this is why, like when you see men, when you see on the planet those who really know the nature of humans, this is why you see a lot of secret societies. They'll separate the women, don't have the women in it, so they already know who you really are. You're the God. We're the sons of God.
Here.
Clear.
Clear.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Those are modern terms, but that's what that really means. Are we clear?
Clear.
So, when we mate with any one of you, we're mating with another mother's daughter.
Period.
Who is a reflection of her mother. Are we clear?
Clear.
And so you are simply mating with a neutered female egg made into the masculine energy of paternity. Is not a gender, it's a process.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
So in the etheric realm, gender is not what you see here. Are we clear?
Clear.
We're just a tool. You forgot yourself. That's why Jawali has the woman unconscious on the questionnaire.
Islam.
And you see 9 drops of water coming off her body. That's the applied science of the number 9. That's how you learn that. All right, the proper use of the womb. All right. Now, we're not going to linger on that, but I just want to throw that out to you. So all of your sons, give honor to the mothers. And we don't want to forget that. And you know in your heart, really, you all know in your heart, you know, who you are. And you know in your heart, truthfully, you all make space for us, you know, so we can feel like this and stuff. But you know that we are going to have time. You know, we're working it out. But you kind of know that we stay boys. So don't lose patience with us because of the way things have been operating on the planet in the last couple hundred years. We're projectors because we're protectors.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
But not superior. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear? And get that through your head. Never abuse that, and you keep your man around. All right? All right. So we're not going to go into that, but masters know the rules, and they should be teaching you.
Islam.
And you be teaching each other. All right? So now, again, I'm going to turn the floor over to Brother Chalet Moore, Sister Light, Sister Sharon. You all come back up. You will clean up. Islam.
Islam. High honors to you, Consular General Taj Tarik Bey. It's an honor for me to be here for the purpose for which we're here. I woke up to more science consciously in July of last year.
Y'all turn this mic up.
And as we all know, when we wake up to it, it changes everything.
Everything.
I don't even feel like I'm on the same planet, nor in the same dimension, because I'm in a different space. So my sister and my brother Sage Bey, they woke up first, went through it, got their heads around it, got it in their hearts, and their hearts got in it, and then they told me about it, and we just caught on fire with it. A few months after that, I went to a hearing for one of our empresses. It was not in one of our venues. It was not in one of our tribunals. And by that time, I knew that a problem we were having is that we did not have our own tribunal in place. It's like, you know, you want remedy from the fire, but you go into the fireplace to try to get it. Guess what's going to happen? You're not going to get remedy. And it's real simple. It's very clean, just like that. You're not going to get remedy. So that day, and this was in October, I believe it was in October of last year. And at that moment, I said, I got to do something about this. We got to do something about this. Now remember, I told you I woke up to more science in July of last year. And like Consular General Taj Tarik Bey said, we're newbies. We get that. We get that. And you know what else we get? We get the fact that if we don't do this, it's not going to get done. Drew Ali did his part. Drew Ali did his part. He set the stage for all of us. And what we understood as the triad we call ourselves is that we got to do something. We got to do what we know to do. And so we did. I saw that issue in October and let it germinate and turn over. And you know how the universe does. And the mother inside of it, because it was always my mother's voice, talking to me about this urge, this function on the inside of me. By December, I knew what I had to do. And I put a video out, a call out, about the Consular Court Restoration Development. We needed to have it. It was just hands down, we needed to have it. We have no place for remedy for our people. And we all know that. I put that video out there, and then I learned Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey put out videos 2 years earlier. And since we've been doing this work, I'm hearing stories from 15 years ago about Moors wanting to do this. Moors wanting to do this. I don't know why it didn't work. I don't really care. What I do know is that we sanction one another. We sanction one another. You know what that means? You don't need a priest to come and lay his hands on you or put hands on you. You don't need someone to come and say, hey, we bless you to do this. We anoint you to do this. You decide that this is what you're going to do. So we did that. Started out in December. Put the call out. We started having calls, and then it became regular. And we found ourselves as the Consular Court Restoration Development team. And after a few months, we decided, okay, we need to be an official consulate for the Moors. We, as a body, through governmental principles, chose the name Moorish American Consulate, established it, and tonight we're here to celebrate the establishment of the Moorish American Consulate. Woo! Just a tiny bit of how this thing unfolded. We put a vote before our team members and said, who would you like to be our Consular General? Right? You already know what happened, right? Already know what happened. Overwhelmingly, the team said, we want Taj Tarik Bey to be the Consular General. Dr. NAILAH Dr. NAILAH, who is she's a part of what we're doing. She's not necessarily on the calls all the time, but she gets all of the information. She's always a part of it. So she told him, I didn't tell her to, but I was kind of hoping she would. And she called me back and said, he says he can't do it. And I'm like, oh. We had a couple of other people who were lined up in case he said no. So I called him, I said, Grand Sheikh, I know what your position is. But I'm still, if you would, let me come talk to you, and you're going to have to tell me no. So I came and talked to him, and I know he's busy a lot. So I came up, and we spent some time together, and I talked to him. And he says, I I'm so busy. And you, if you know him, you know he's busy.
Islam.
Very busy.
Very.
Not just fixing physical houses. Right? His physical work is a reflection of his spiritual work.
Islam.
So he's always doing this work. So I said, I know what your position is, and you can still say no, but just let me get a chance to present my case. And I said, if I had my way, you would be Consular General. I would continue to do what I'm doing in the way of guidance and leadership and keep things going. He interrupted me. I said, yes, I'll do it. He said these words to me. He said, I just needed to make sure that you were still committed to the passion of your vision. And of course we are. And then we worked out the positions and so on and so forth. And we agreed he's the Consular General who was elected by the body. He said, I'm not doing it unless you're there with me. So we worked it out. So we created co-Consular General positions. And the body agreed with it. So since we started in December, we are up to 6, actually up to tonight, we are actually up to 7. 7 extractions. What do I mean? When our Moors get kidnapped, who do they turn to? They go to the fire pit to try to get rid of the fire. Right? So we created the first stages of remedy as far as we saw. Nothing new. The principles and the guidelines that we use are very old. We established the concept of consulars. It's from ancient times. The Vienna Convention on Consular Relations tells you that. It's a concept that's been around since the ancient times. You know who was back there in the ancient times? We were.
Islam.
Okay? So, I won't belabor that. That's a little bit about how we got started to where we are right now. Tonight, we want to acknowledge and call the appellations of the first wave of consuls and the folks who are on these posts. And I'm going to repeat what I just said. The first wave.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? The first wave. If you've not read the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations, read it. It's very powerful. And it tells you how nations deal with grown-up nations. I'm going to say this, and then we're going to do the science here. The challenge Moors have had, from my observation, this is just mine. I've been awake to Moor science for even more than a year, for less than a year, as a matter of fact. But the observation that I saw is that Moors who were standing on their square and are standing on their square had to go to Roman courtrooms as an individual or a couple of individuals, and there was no judicial body in place. We've been doing this work and we've been publicizing bits and pieces of it. They're listening. We see it in the deepest, darkest recesses of the earth. They're listening to us. We had a comment on our last conference call saying, well, what are we going to do about securing our lives? And I'm like, how are you going to do that? And why do we need to do that?
That's right.
Why do we need to hide? They need to know we're coming. That is of significant importance to me personally. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said this: go to those who know law. How?
Intelligent.
In an intelligent tone. And what will they do? A favorable reply. What is the percentage of non-Moors who are waiting to give you a favorable reply? We already know there are many of them out there who don't want to give you a favorable reply. Don't care about it. Who wants to give you a favorable reply? We never sought to find that out as a body. I'm interested. In fact, I'm committed to finding out just how many are there out there like that. Because a favorable reply means they do this. They'll walk with you. They'll hold your hand. They'll stand for you. They'll stand with you. And we need some help. Our people are significantly disoriented. Don't call them crazy. Because if you know anything about being bludgeoned in the head and being knocked out, you know when you wake up, you're disoriented. Our people aren't crazy.
No.
They're just disoriented. And guess who's not disoriented? Everybody in this room. You're oriented. You know which way we're going. And it's going to accelerate. So, I'm going to name most of the people on this list tonight. And is there anything left to do on those documents there?
Ceremony, put a monograph on it.
Okay. All right. First one, when you set up a consulate, I've been in conversations with people from other segments of wars, and they're saying you don't need a consulate here at North America. It's your home. The argument kind of makes sense. And most countries don't have their own consulates in their own land. Right. So that does make sense. Does that, you understand? Mm-hmm. But it's not about place, geography. It's about diversity. Yes. Because those people who are sitting in the White House, who are in control of Air Force One, who are in control of the militaries and the skyscrapers and all, they're not Americans. Right. They're saying they are, but they know they're not Americans. Well, who are Americans? We are. Okay. We are. We're the de jure Aboriginal American, the copper-colored people. And you know, copper can be polished and look like this little guy here. But copper can be worn and used and look kind of like me. Right. You've seen the worn pennies and you've seen the new pennies. The copper-colored people. We are the de jure Americans. Okay? So, I'm getting ahead of myself here. This is being put together so that we can have a judicial body to go to their judicial bodies. Because if you know anything about their systems, judges speak to judges. Attorneys speak to attorneys. And they can be diametrically opposed in their case, but when they leave out and they go sip beer and wine, both attorneys are talking and laughing together because attorneys talk to attorneys. Where did they get that from? The structure, they got it from us. Let's not act like this is something foreign. Let's remember. Let's remember. So, when you form a consulate, you speak, that consulate is formed to speak on behalf of a government of people or a state. And that state sends you to the other country, or in our case, it sends you to the folks who are not us, regardless if they're saying us. This government sends us. Our sending state is the Moorish National Republic, federal government. They have to send you under signed and sealed letter. So, do we have that letter here with us? Let me see that letter. All right. The one from Moorish National Republic, federal government. I don't know if you.
No, that one's not here.
Okay, it's not here because it's already signed and sealed. Just so you know. Okay? It's not here because it's already signed and sealed. Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey, the Emir, signed it, sealed it, and sent us. So we're established and we're sent to the foreign venues. To have your confirmed consular generals. And I just explained to you that our elected consular general is Consular General Taj Tarik Bey. Who refused to do it if we brought it to him and dropped it in his lap. Get your vision and you carry it. Because that's where your wealth is. Carry your own vision. We say in our meetings, if you're not here to babysit anybody. If you're not willing to read and you want us to do it, we probably going to hit you real good. But we want you to read and know it because we want a nation of competent people. So, the elected, Taj Tarik Bey, do we have his commission letter? Okay. All right. So, of course they are. And I have them. I have my copy of it right over there. So, we sent the letter to Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey. He agreed, signed it, and sealed it, and then we sealed it. And now he's the Consular General. That happened this week. Sharon and Taj Tarik Bey also sealed my letters of commission. So you now have 2 consular generals. Most countries don't have 2 consular generals. We need them. There's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
One of the first things we did, Mother Delilah, stand up.
Islam DA.
Islam.
So we can orient everyone. And yes.
Please.
Right here. So the first thing all of our counselors in training at the time did is read her information and filled out the questionnaire. They did their research and filled out the questionnaire that she authored. We've been missing each other with phone calls because she already told me she's going to beat me down. That's the look she gave me. So,
Through the phone.
Huh? Through the phone, exactly. So, we would be remiss if we didn't name her. She's already doing the work.
Yes.
We would be remiss if we didn't name her a consul with this group. She helped train them.
Islam.
We're going nowhere without her.
Islam.
Right? All right, so we have you just stay right on up here.
Now.
We have our consular generals. The next level is consular post heads. Now, we worked with putting the country into regions, the land masses into large-scale regions, the western region, the central region, the northeast region, which is a high concentration of Moors and all kinds of people in the northeast, and the southeast, the UK, the adjoining islands, and we'll be eventually going to Central America and all the way to South America and continuing the work because you know the whole planet is ours anyway.
Yes.
Islam.
Right? Now, so for our consular heads, they're heads of posts. We have what we've called the regional heads of posts. They are in charge of those large swaths of the land. They have oversight responsibilities there to organize it and to do work with the growing groups that are doing the work there. So, first one I want to mention is my sister, Light Tarik Bey. Yes, she's going to cry. Don't worry about that. She's going to cry.
Friday.
That seems like a feminine thing to do, but we get that from my father. Just want you to know that. He's got an X and a Y chromosome. So are we finished with the autograph on that? I'm a little jealous because Sharon and Taj didn't sign it together on mine. Sharon signed mine, and I said, Taj's signature on there too. But we have to get the work done. It's good. It's good. So, Planetary Bey. And her responsibility is the western side of Mexico. Next person. Sharon Tracy Gale Bey.
Come on.
Sharon jumped in, and if you know anything about Sharon, she jumped in and started working.
Yes.
Tirelessly. I'm like, will you please get you some rest? I have had to tell her that multiple times. Get some sleep. She took up the work and she proved herself. By working, all the consular heads did. They proved themselves not by saying I want to be anything. They just said I want to be. This is what I'm bringing to the table. Planetary Bey's special project is extractions. And she's also working with trusts. Okay? So, extractions are getting people out of jail and prisons. And in 6 months, we have 7 more that are out. We're expecting one to walk through the door tonight.
They want to know, they're asking for an update on him.
He's coming.
Tell us
Yeah,
what stage.
hold on a second.
Please say.
I've actually heard from our brother OT a couple of times tonight, and they are releasing him this evening. He is represented like he was supposed to, like Morsi, like we've been trained by our Amir, and he'll be here any minute now, actually. And he was also saying that he may need someone to come and get him. He's about 51 minutes away. We've already done the map quest, yeah. So we're going to work that out as well. And then we're going to, we already have a writ of restitution put together for him. And we'll be making sure that he gets his conveyance.
Bey. Okay.
Asayin Tabajat Bey.
Oh, say it again.
Asayin
Tabajat Bey.
OT.
Sharon Tracy Gale Bey. Is there anything left to do on yours?
No, I'm done.
You're done. Of course she's done.
Bey.
I received my papers back in the mail from her and have her papers with me on this past Wednesday. So with those signed papers, the Moorish American Consulate is operational.
Come on now.
Islam, God.
Come right. Can we get a chance for Jamal? So Jamal just teaches. And then he's going into the tribunals with Moors.
Come on.
Islam.
He's just doing the work, just working. Active Moors, not passive Moors.
Come on.
That's right.
Islam.
Right?
Islam.
So he's in the area of Corporal Providence, Rhode Island. And we talked with him about a couple of things, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Not the least of which was to serve as the consular post head for the Providence area.
Islam.
You see, and he will be working with Sharon Tracy Gale Bay because that's in the Northeast, right? So we're Drew always said, I'm going to leave European here long enough to teach you how to what?
Run
Government. Consular General Taj Tarik Bey said there's nothing wrong with the system they're using. We just need to use it right. There's nothing wrong with having policy enforcers. We just need it for them not to be the gangs of New York.
Islam.
Right? There's nothing wrong with having a unit of transportation, a motor transportation ministry, to help provide order on the highway.
Islam.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
When you're traveling in your nice conveyance that you put out a lot of Federal Reserve notes on, you don't want people to run into it. Right? We need all of those things. Okay? So, we're establishing order. And it's not a new invention. It will be handling things in the Providence area. Is there anything left to do on his document? Taj, the sign yours too. And this special area is specifically with trust law. He's already written a book about it. Because, as we all know, the prophets express trust has been tampered with. And when I first heard that, I'm like, it's over. We can't do anything. But guess what? He created another one. It's not like he invented trusts. We need trust to put our physical things and protect them.
Accounting 101.
Yes, accounting. So his specialty focus area, in addition to his post responsibilities, will be to help us to lead the process in helping us put together a trust that the Moorish American Consulate will establish. And we'll build it and tell you about it as we're coming along. Okay? Yeah, we're newbies, but we're committed. Yes, we're newbies, but you don't even understand how we check each other for purity. Make sure the motive is right. You have no idea. They all know. We go at it because it has to be pure. It has to be right. This is not a movement in a maze based on greed or commerce or anything like that. Yeah, I am. All right. This is a movement that's based on 5 principles. You know what they are?
Yes.
Truth, peace,
Freedom and justice.
Right? And none of those 5 things say commerce. You need to bring love to commerce. You need to bring truth to commerce. You need to bring peace to commerce. You need to bring freedom to commerce. And you need to bring justice to commerce. It is kind of like the DNA into everything we do. Okay? Now, so, honors to you for the amazing work you do. All right? Ascension. Acai. Not even a year. I'm still learning the Morris leaders. Okay. Acai. He's on his way here. He stepped up and started doing stuff. And when I first learned of him, he was tracking with me. It's like everything I did, he would go and do the same thing. When I would say something, he would do the same thing. I'm like, who is this guy tracking me like this? Maybe he's going to tell Maybe he's trying to do something conniving. Gotta watch out for them conniving boys. But he wasn't. When I finally met him, he just brings purity. There's a purity and innocence about that man that is undeniable. And he is a stallion. All of them are. They don't want to sit down. No. They want to be on the track running. Yes. They want to be on the track running. Okay. They pulled him over, like my sister said. They took him in, and he's out. Stood on his own square. The Mortgage American Consulate didn't really need to do anything. We were prepared. That's why we were late in here. We were working on the paperwork. But he got out himself because he understands what he's doing. So his documents are signed, and we're looking forward to giving those documents to him as well. And are we putting the Moorish American consulate seal on these documents? Yes. Oh, yes. They're all on top of it. Okay. Ah, yes. Now, I mentioned to you about the judicial body. Let me tell you a quote that we read not too long ago, and I used this quote in the last video presentation that I put together. Perhaps we should let sleeping dogs sleep until they can get their cooked ducks or judges in the proper government pond. And I want to say that, let that sink in. Perhaps we should let sleeping dogs sleep until they get their cooked ducks or judges in the right government pond. I said earlier, and we all know this, when Moors get in trouble, they fight these tribunals as individuals. And these tribunal administrators are like, you knucklehead, where's your judge? You don't have a judge standing for you. You don't have a consulate to speak for you. My little nephew, Tarik Bey. Tarik Bey. Everybody say that with me. Tarik Bey. I speak to him and his consulate almost every day. We have him locked up in Rockdale County. No court dates, no nothing. He's standing on his square. The assistant district attorney said to him on a call, when his consulate called, well, this is the South, so I'm going to do the Twain thing. Well, do you have an embassy or a consulate that you can call? Drew Ali said, keep listening to the radios and keep reading the papers, because I'm going to make the European tell the truth. That's right. Was he being cute or flip? No. That's the appropriate question. Right. They're probably sick of holding him. Right. And he will be the first person, I thought he was going to end up being the second one, but he will be the first person that we will go in as a Moorish American consulate and get. Mm-hmm. I hope you're watching. Hear us loud and clear. We're coming to get him. And you already know that because we talk all the time. But we're coming to get him like a grown-up nation. No nation sends their citizenry into a courtroom by themselves. Who does that? And we have to quit doing that. And we had to do it because folks who were tasked to do it didn't do it. Every Moorish Science Temple of America is supposed to be a consulate. Say it again. I think I haven't gotten my spats from them. Well, you shouldn't be doing this. This ought to be in the Moorish Science Temple of America. I agree with you. Where is it?
Islam.
But they are the Moorish Science Temple of America. Drew Ali said, what are you doing here? The numbers are going to dwindle down to just a handful. But the time is going to come when 16 secretaries won't be enough.
Islam. It's a big name.
So, it's like everything else. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Islam.
It just needs to be run.
Islam.
And some of them are. We have a couple of cities who are on our calls, doing the work, saying, look, my temple is going to have a consulate in it.
Come on.
Islam.
Right? And they will be model temples. And when things start picking up for them, the other cities get along. Or they'll go to that. We're cool either way. All right? So, I'm going to see if I can work through these names here. There's one other thing we need to do. Now that we have the consulate, we have to put together the grand judicial body. This is a body. We're not going to start off with one judge. This is a body of judges. These are Moors who will get their heads together and work on the macro issues that our people are facing as a judicial body of judges. We have to do that. I was going to move a little slower on it. Had this incident happen, damn, I'm like, I got to do this. Got to do it. Now, we've already talked to them. All right? So, Jamal, is going to be one of those persons. We gotta get our sea legs at some point. I do. Yeah, I'm going to tell him. I got the microphone, and I'm in control right now. So he says, I just wanted to tell you that I'm only 27. And, I'm kind of young, 26. Oh, you dropped it. Maybe he was so nervous, or maybe I wasn't. I don't know. He said, I'm only 27. But if you've ever heard him teach,
Wow.
you know he's not a 27, 26-year-old teacher. You know that.
Islam.
He's not a 26-year-old teacher. He's been here before.
Yes.
Many times, and he has taught many more. Some of us came back just so we could learn from him.
Yes.
Right? He's sticking on his concepts. Like Taj Bey. I already told her, you my private counsel. I got to jump on that. She's going to serve on that. Now, we're putting this together so that when you instead of sending your important documents to these tribunals with your signature alone on it, you now have a judicial body that will be building and building and building so that we can stand with the Moors as a judicial body. You can run a nation. You can't run a nation without a judicial body. If you just have an executive branch, you are severely handicapped. If you just have a legislative branch, people making a whole bunch of rules, you're severely handicapped. You must start with the judiciary, the laws, the principles upon which the group is put together. You got to start there. You can't start just by making up stuff. You got to go back to the ancient and return to your forefathers and foremothers who put that together.
Yes.
So we're putting together this grand body of judges. All right? So, Jamal Light. There's a sister in the Georgia Republic named Jessica Bey.
Come on.
If you don't know that sister, you will. You better understand that this woman is amazing.
Yes.
She understands her concepts, and she has a very deep, complex understanding of complex. She's going to be a part of that.
Yes.
Ultimately, yes. My brother Sage, who you will hear very little from for now, he is a consular. He's not a consular post head, but he leads the finance subcommittee. Drew Ali said, "Do not tax my Moors. Do not tax my Moors." Like a good father would say that. We're the wealthiest people on earth.
Islam.
Right? We're the wealthiest people on earth. Why do we have to pull resources and finances real heavily from each other? Why do we have to do that? What we need to do is reacquire control of our estate.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Reacquire control of our estate. And listen, the babies are not a distraction to me. Let them soak in this energy. They're helping me. Okay? This is energy. This is beautiful energy. They're up here. They're not out there playing with y'all. Right? Don't miss that. Let them do what they do. All right? So, he's working with the finance subcommittee. And they're working on projects that don't tax the Moors. They're not even thinking about taxing the Moors. As we continue to work to nationalize Moors and do this work, we're not going to be gutting them, getting Federal Reserve notes from them.
Islam.
It's not fair.
Islam.
All we need to do is get them in a position to reclaim their estate.
Islam.
And then they'll be purchasing houses and stuff for us.
Right.
If they want to do that, we're not asking for it. Go ahead, Consular.
And the prophet said, "Do not put a burden
He said, "Do not put a burden."
on my Moors."
Islam.
That's what the prophet said.
That's the prophet said.
And that tax is a major burden that the Pope said that they would use to destroy the nation. The power to tax is the power to destroy. Islam.
Islam. And he would have succeeded, but it was never meant to succeed. He could have succeeded, but he couldn't. This was never meant to kill us. All of the stuff we went through, it was never meant to kill us. That which does not kill you, but. Come on, stop crying about the past. So what? We went through this stuff. You're still here. Right? You're still here. And you're standing strong. Dr. Rachel Yehuda in 2014 released findings in her lab, from her laboratory, works from Mount Sinai. The shorthand of which is this. Listen carefully. Trauma changes DNA. Say it again. Trauma changes DNA. We're setting up judges. What law school did you go to? Good Lord, Harrison. House of Reawakening Mind. House of Reawakening Minds. That makes these folks up here, all of us and you out there, more competent than Supreme Court justices. Justice Warren Berger in 1989, he said 85% of all trial lawyers are either incompetent or crooked or both. That's a pretty big number. That's a big number. And he was a Supreme Court justice when he said it. Wow. He knew some things. Okay? So let's move on here. So I was talking about my brother Sadie. He's going to be also a judge. He said specifically, I want to adjudicate regarding large financial issues, and he knows it. He knows it. Been studying it for decades. Okay. I'm going to have to break out the glasses on this because I want to. Huh? All right. All right. It's not because I'm getting old. Okay. We're here with the babies, and I'm going to run through this list here. And I'm going to call the appellations of the people who we have here as consuls. And remember what I'm telling you. Most of you I've never seen before tonight. This is the first wave. The first wave of consuls. There's going to be a second wave of consuls. You understand what we're saying? There's going to be a second wave of consuls. I'm looking at some of you who are going to be in that second wave. Right? Tarik Bey, an amazing consul. When we go to get him, we're taking his consul papers with us. We're not going to mail them. We're going to take them. And he's going to sign them. We're also looking at him to lead Southeast. He is an amazing jurist. Been studying for about a year. And of course, alongside him will be his lovely consort, Gina. They're watching. And then Giramore L. He'll be local consul head post for the Savannah area. His specialty area is liaison for us with the Washington. Okay? There are many branches of Moors, or sundry many free Moors.
Yes.
Well, somebody got to start pulling them together.
Islam. You know it.
Well, the Moorish American Consul is going to do that. All right? So that's his specialty area. Amara Amor Bey. Domiciled in the Vancouver area. An amazing administrator. administrator, and she's working to put together more orientations for our consuls. She'll probably be working with you on some things. All right? Lanier White Bay. Noble Drew Bay. Specialists in the area of cryptocurrencies and things like that. They have a cryptocurrency called the More Coin that they're working with. Right. It's moving now. It's moving with the market. Right. Exactly. We're connecting with you. Okay. No Pearson Bay. Pearson Bay. That's a grand sheet. That's a grand sheet. Up in the New York Republic. Refitting a building on the second floor. If you study Judicial, you know what that means. Refitting a building on the second floor to have temple on that second floor. And he says very specifically, that's going to be our consulate. A grand sheet. Okay? Tia. Patricia L. Bay. Consular. Good connections down in the adjoining islands. Sage Bay. I just spoke to you about my brother Sage Bay. Consular and Finance Committee. Yanaki Bay. Yanaki L. Our sister in the UK area. She didn't go to the wedding today, by the way. She said she would be. Zephaniah Bay. Florida Republic. Yanaki she's building the website for the Moorish American Consulate. And she's putting together a fairly complex system. And she's doing it in the UK, and she'll let us see it, and then she'll take it offline and work on some more things. But the empire of Morocco is big. Okay? And she will likely be the consul post head in the UK. Noble Holloway L. in the Arkansas Republic. The very excited J. Bay in the California Republic. Costa Rica Bay. She said these words to me. I just want to do whatever my hands can find to do. Of course, I don't let anybody get off the hook that easy. When you decide you want to work with the Moorish American Consulate, the first thing I ask you is whether you have a passion for it. I'm not really interested in you cooking fish, or we having a fish fry, or cleaning up the bathroom when the bathroom is dirty. And we can do that. But I want you to work in the area that you have a white hot passion for. Because I don't have to motivate things. It makes leadership easy. You know? It makes it easy. And we're putting people where they in the areas where they have to. Okay. Wayne Broadway. I have him down as a generalist. Wayne Broadway is fire. He's constantly posting very conscious law concepts on Facebook, and he knows his stuff. And he will challenge anybody on anything. Because it's about the purity of the concepts.
Exactly.
Right? It's not about, okay. I met him at the flag raising, and it was on from there. Mustafa Bey. Mustafa Bey went to the tribunal this past Monday for a quote traffic violation. He said, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to stand on my square like I'm supposed to. So he goes up. They call him up. He says his appellation. And he said, pardon me. What kind of court is this? Is this a criminal court or a civil court? What do you think the administrator said? He said, criminal. For traveling on your land. Criminal. He said, criminal. His voice is way deeper than mine. He's criminal. Well, then I have a right to face my accuser, don't I? I think he's watching. If I'm imitating you wrong, just count it for love, all right? He says, I have a right to face my accuser, don't I? I mean, it's a criminal court. Where's the contract of controversy? You know what the judge did? The administrator did? Look, I can just see you are not going to plead. You are not going to cooperate. You're not going to do any of this thing. I'm just going to send this thing to county court. In other words, he let the case go.
There's
nowhere to go. Right? Mustafa Bey. Yeah. And he's in the southeast. Don't get jealous. All right. And then his consort, Daphne Bey. Let me tell you about this. Daphne, I hope she's watching. I really hope she's watching because I'm about to tell it. She talks like she's 20 feet tall. She's a fighter like she's 20 feet tall. She will quickly tell you she's 4 feet 11. But a true sea star who knows how to wield the sword of power. They called me 11:30 one night. Mustafa called me. Russell, gotta help me out, man. They got my queen. They got my queen. He said, I'm walking over there to where she is now. So she's standing on her square in her conveyance. I'm a boy's man. Just standing on her square. So the policy enforcers called back up, dressed in SWAT gear. 4'11" woman, and you know policy enforcers are at least my size or bigger. With gear on, so they look 50 pounds heavier than what they really are. She said, I have my consular on the phone. We don't care about that. Get out of the car.
What?
Yes. We don't care about that. Get out of the car. If you don't get out of this car, I'm going to break your window and drag you out. Stood on her square. 5, 4, 3. Did it count down? 2, 1. Sounded like gunshots. Pow, 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 pow. Open the door and drag her out. 6 men, my size, dragging a 4'11" queen empress out of the car. Drag her downtown. Glass in her hair and everything. The importance of what we're doing. She's home now, and she has her conveyance back. The importance of what we're doing. The importance of what we're doing is, guess what has to happen? They have a court date. Not in the Moorish American court. They have a court date in the fire pit. In hell. The pool pit. Right? So now, we have a grand body of judges. You're going to have to be one too. And I will tell you, we were going to have a conversation about it, but nature is moving on because I got to do it too. Okay? You know, you provide guidance. The lion's share of your work will be done from the desk. Okay? And we need those signatures. We need those signatures. Okay? So this is what we're doing. I'm so honored to have worked with everyone. I'm so honored that the then Consular Court Restoration Development team came online and just caught this vision, and we started working, and we built what we now Dutchman Dwight Eisenhower's severe infraction against us. I'm going to say this as I close. He didn't just shut down our consular courts. I want you to look into this. Some of you will look into it deeper. He shut down the consular courts for Siam. Okay. He shut them down for Turkey. The same place where Erdogan is leading. You don't know the background of that. Get the background of that. He's the one who used the phrase Ottoman slap this year. The Ottoman slap. You ever seen the cartoon where somebody slaps so hard? It's a sexy slap. It's the one that Kendrick Lamar wrote. They also shut down China's consular courts. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. There's a huge message in what I just said.
Yes.
There's a huge message. What's the reserve currency of the world now?
Federal Reserve note.
Almost.
But not now.
But not now.
It is what?
Yuan.
Yes. Yuan. Yes, sir.
It turned a few years ago. The Chinese currency.
They're being forced to admit it now.
Yeah.
They're going to open up the different hubs in the different areas. They're setting up the systems, testing, setting up the hubs.
Right. And
they're reopening the old Silk Road. Yes.
yes.
And the Europeans are calling it a reset.
And it's going to be a reset. That's when we'll see. Drew Ali said 20 because that was a lot. I threw that down. That was I'm sorry. My dad is a Constantinople preacher, so we kind of be this demonstrative. So this is a $100 Federal Reserve note. Drew Ali talked about a 20 because that was pretty big at that time. He said the day is going to come when you'll see it on the ground and you won't even bend down to pick it up.
Exactly.
You won't even bend down to pick it up. Now, this is not the reserve note. It's my sweat bag. Right? You got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, really, what it is, and this is what's also going on in the background, and this is why Trump was wearing 2 masks. And he's telling people for the last 7 or 8 years, you know, well, we want to know when the conversion took place. The real deal is, just like we told you a few years ago, you know, don't put anything in the banks if you're using them more than just keeping your regular transfers, because they're going to steal it. That's 2748. Yeah. And the deal of it is, when you look at the Southern Quran, it closes and says, "This is the uniting of Asia."
Islam.
Right. He didn't say the uniting of Africa. He didn't say the uniting of Mexico or the uniting of the Indians. He said the uniting of Asia. Yes. The uniting of Asia. You know how the United States Federal Corporation has military bases on all the continents on the planet? Yes. Oh no, they're just setting the stage. See, they can't stop China.
Not at all.
Where's the closest China military installation? Can somebody tell me? Not you, Larry. Where's the closest that you know of? The closest Chinese military installation to North America?
Come on, y'all.
Baltimore.
Yes. South America and a little further north. The Caribbean Islands. The adjoining islands. China. Right? Where's the closest Russian military installation?
Cuba.
Right around Cuba. There are 2 islands out there in the middle between Cuba, between the adjoining islands and like Brazil, right? There are 2 islands you would never know where they are, except Google Maps told us they were there because they're so small. 2 Russian military installations, and then they have posts all over Central and South America. And there's nothing the United States Federal Corporation can do about it. Through Alicia, show up for yourself, 90 days worth. Yeah, we can get help from our brothers from the east. They're in the back door.
Yeah.
And they're in the back door doing big commerce. And they want North America. They want to do business in North America. But the service corporation,
They don't want to do business with them.
they don't want to do business with them. Everybody else can come here and do business, but not Russia and not China. Our brothers from the east. Okay? So I'm concluding it. Thank you for letting me ramble. This has been. Go ahead. This has been an amazing journey, and we're just getting started. Just getting started. So for those of you who are listening, then I'll get to your question in just a moment. For those of you who are listening, understand this. We are, while we're moving really, really fast, this should have been done 104 years ago.
Yes.
All right? It should have been done 104 years ago. We all know that it wasn't. And it's okay. That's water under the bridge. Right now, we are just getting started. Okay? And we are going to do things like prison extractions, jail extractions, putting a solid model together on your trust. You got to have a trust. Yes. And where's the template for that? We have framework material on the thumb drive that Consular General Taj put together. And we've got to continue to perfect that.
Yes.
Okay? Publications and education, sharing, access specialties. Yes. Because she does so much other stuff, right? Including, and not the least of which, cracks the whip over me. She's a mother, okay? Just so you know. All right? So, I've said enough. Okay.
Islam. Brother Abdullah, you're to me Mosey Day. Give him the mic.
Tuesday,
Yes, I
it asked me that I want to take a post
Come on.
as a consul.
Islam.
I said, brother, I'm working on another book. It'll be out in July. Putting out an issue in my newspaper called Masonic 8 with 50,000 issues, 50,000 distribution all over the country. Let me stay in my lane. I want to stay in my lane as I can get this paper out. 100,000 papers printed with distribution basis set up already. This is one of my distributors right here. On our distribution base, I have Masonic connections throughout the country. And I have distributors who are locking this shit in Masons, who I've been developing a relationship with for the past 4 or 5 years. Right? So what I did was I added to the Masonic Gate came out in December of 2013. Very popular. Very popular. Went over very well. Widened it out. I didn't have the help. I had to work on this book. I had to work on this book. Get this book out.
Yeah.
Newspaper about July or August. Well, this book will be out. Masonic Compass and Square, the connection, the measurement, and timekeeper will be out in your hands. Will be here for sale in July. All right. The new header is already done for the Masonic Gate. I added the Great Seal. I added the Moorish flag and the Moorish fez to the header.
Yes.
That wasn't part of the header when I put out in December of 2013. All right? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to deal with an online printing company. And they're going to be doing I'm going to be mailing the paper be mailed to you from the printing company. I will not be mailing any papers. That's been a great help for me, but the company will be mailing the papers to my distributors.
Islam.
I'm very serious about this. This paper will be out. We're looking at about August, because I got to get the book out first. This one I'll show you. All right? Six chapters, over 200 pages. I spent all week finishing up chapter 3, 4, 5, and 7's already done. We already started the editing layout for the paper, for the book. Now this book here is the Masonic Compass Square, the connection to timekeeping and measurement deals with what I do is I explain the astronomy of the quote-unquote Masonic symbols.
Yes.
I'm saying quote-unquote symbols because they're not symbols.
Right.
They're tools.
So I'm saying quote-unquote symbols. All right? They're measurement tools. You would not call a ruler a symbol.
Right.
All right? No one would call a ruler a symbol if you understand its function. But I understand the function of these. I understand the Masonic, the astronomical, and mathematical connection to them.
Islam.
All right? So I go in. All right? So that's what that's about. So we've been talking when I first met you here, and I said that I would like to help as far as getting the council to in the mainstream. I will be writing an open letter. I already started it to the director of the National Constitution Center at Philadelphia, and that open letter will deal with making requesting that the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, an exhibit honoring the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States. There will be a permanent exhibit there. That open letter will be that'll be the feature article of the next issue of the Masonic Gate coming out in August. It'll also be online. Then I'm going to turn the letter into a petition. If they don't move with a permanent exhibit, we'll turn it into a petition with over 10,000 signatures. All right, so I'm going to make a They will be in permanent exhibit. Honoring the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. The longest standing unbroken treaty in the world. Over 235 years. When Bill Clinton was president, he spoke, and the king of the Kingdom of Morocco, Bill Clinton said that the first country to recognize the United States was Morocco in 1777. The treaties between Morocco and England, Morocco and Algiers, Morocco and Tunis, Morocco and Tripoli, protected, those are going back to the 1600s, protected the English merchants and ships. In 1777, Muhammad ibn Abdullah extended, he appointed a council for unrepresented nations on behalf to negotiate on behalf of the United States. He brought the United States, that act of recognizing the United States in 1777, brought the United States into the legal nation. So when people talk about the United States, we are the key to this. It's not the Declaration of Independence. All right? It's not the Declaration of Independence. It's not the Article of Confederation. The major issue in the Continental Congress was whether to pay the Moors tribute, continue the 300-year customary practice of paying the Moors tribute, or put money for defense. That was the number one issue. If you go by textbook, you're already off.
Yes.
The problem is we're going by textbook. That was the number one issue.
Yes.
Not the Declaration of Independence, not the Northwest Ordinance, not the Article of Confederation, not the Constitution, the treaty. Why? Because that relationship protected the commerce. Because you're looking at the tribute treaties prior to 1777 that protected their commerce. We were seizing their ships. Now you're looking at if you look at the parade, the Shriners Parade, and they have the Shriners Parade, what they're doing is they're modeling their history. They'll use Corvettes. Why not Mercedes? Why do they use Corvettes in the Shriners Parade?
Little ships.
Exactly. We seized their ships. This was a major issue of controversy for them. So they sought protection. We were not writing them to negotiate a treaty. They were writing us. There were 10 years of negotiation. 1777. Beginning with that, Muhammad ibn Abdullah extending his arms. George Washington, in his letter, dated December 1st, 1789, he apologized to Muhammad ibn Abdullah, our great emperor, for not keeping up with regular correspondence, and so also for acknowledging the treaty. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship was a monumentous task for them. Not for us today, but not 1777.
Islam.
For us today, only because we were colonized and were totally defeated. It was for them. Because we were not paying them tribute, they were paying us tribute. Keep that in mind. So this Treaty of Peace and Friendship is a major document. One of the most important documents in modern history is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between Morocco and the United States. Why is it not taught in the schools? When I write the letter, I'm not going to write it like that. I'm not going to say, why is it not taught in the schools? I'm not going to put them in a corner. I'm going to come with a position of how this Treaty of Peace and Friendship will also, this knowledge, will help the children, both European children of English, French, Irish, Dutch, Welsh descent, and of Moorish children classified as black, Negro, colored, Latino, Spanish, Puerto Rican. All right? And how this treaty, because they have class trips. They have field trips that go to the National Constitution Center, and how this exhibit will benefit, the children. I'm going to take the children approach. I'm going to take the children approach. I'm not putting them in the corner. I'm not going to put them in the corner. So I've already begun the letter, and I'm going to work on that, get it done so we can get the paper out in August. The paper will be out in August. All right, that'll be the 4th issue of the Masonic Gate. All right, I haven't put out an issue in about 2 years, but I'm going to put out this 4th issue. So I'm excited about that, and we're going to offer a page. We can also, I'm going to make and I need something from you. All right, so that we can put that in the paper.
Islam.
All right. We want to put this on the mainstream, and that's what I'm looking to do. I came up with this idea. I was sitting at Dunkin' Donuts at Camden on Broadway. So I know what it is. And this was about a year ago. I was sitting there drinking a coffee and a blueberry donut, eating a blueberry donut. And I said, man, we gotta get to the mainstream. So I said, what I can do is write an open letter. I was talking to myself. I write an open letter to the director of the National Constitution Center. That's a mainstream institution. That was about a year ago. Well, the paper will be out in August. accept, but I trust me. I've been on this book. Temple knows I've been on this book all week. I didn't. It was. I was out. I was in Detroit, Louisville. I'm doing the classes in Maryland. Classes here. So I'm like overworked. I'm tired now. I spent 7-8 hours working on the book today. I was falling asleep in the chair. Had to stand up only because I was falling asleep. So I'm tired. Tired. So I'm excited. I want to press everyone's hand. All right. I'm excited. Thank you. Definitely excited. All right.
And brother, that spirit that you see there, that's the spirit I saw in 92, 93.
Islam.
And it's been like you've been on touchdown skates ever since.
I'd like to acknowledge we've been working, as Province Regency, we've been working. We've formed committees to develop press, education, a curriculum,
Yes.
school, transportation, and in line with what you're doing. But I'd like to acknowledge my sons, my brothers, Isaiah, Troy.
Yeah!
That's in line with the military, and us getting back into our place.
Yes.
Dr. NAILAH, would you please come up here? So she holds a unique distinction that we will bestow on her this evening. Please, a bridge.
Yeah!
Yes, of course. You certainly look the part. She holds the distinction of being the first honorary consul we will adorn tonight. Who are working to learn more about more science. This is the school.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Right
is.
here. This is a live school. Right here. You have worked hard.
Yes.
Islam.
You've come out of your pocketbook.
Yep.
And you have run out many times.
Yeah.
Islam.
I know because you told me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know. And you still doing it. With an honorary title, don't y'all bother her with your case.
Islam.
If you do call about your cases, she's just going to refer you to the consuls because that's her job. Okay?
All right.
But it will come with all the rights, privileges, and immunities
Yes.
of a digital counsel, of
Islam.
an active full-time counsel.
Islam.
And I have eaten at her house. I have sawed wood at her house. I have played with treasure at the house. And Cat Williams. And we are working on putting together a video for her to advance getting the message out there about House of Reawakening Minds and some of the other things that you're doing. So we honor you. We honor you.
Yes.
Absolutely honor you. Let's give her turn it back over to you.
Islam.
Islam, I want to say again, Brother Abdullah, you're appreciated.
Yes.
Islam.
Because it's not necessary, I say, tell old history. But this is a brother that knows the history that we went through with the round table and with the adoption of the Great Seal. His brother was working in the building, round table building. I just want to bring this to your attention because he knows developers were bidding on their buildings, 80, 90,000 notes for ordinary houses. We went together and I told them we were going to get that building. We went on that building in the evening. Put a circle on it, put our hands on it. We went to the auction in Camden, and the people were putting up their plaques. That was one of the prime buildings, and they started falling down. We got that building for $5,000. There's a lot of people, including family members, etc. They throw us out to lunch. So I told them we were going to get that building. And his brother, in the dark, was holding a flashlight while I was working on lecture.
Islam.
Architecturally, the building was absolutely beautiful weather.
Yes.
Grand staircase. We still have the blueprint layout for it. Jealousy and envy busted out in the scenes, the people. That brother stood next to me when others abandoned. We had meetings, just give you a little bit of background. His brother, a lot of things, he could write books on just our experiences. We used to meet with Reverend Bellows on 23rd and Allegheny. He's a man who understood government. We were talking and teaching them more science. And for those of you who don't know, who in here knows Reverend Bellows? Raise your hand. How many of you know about the Million Man March? Reverend Bellows is the real man behind the Million Man March, not Farrakhan. So we had a lot of background work. We worked when they were doing the Million Women March, and I wrote that article about the Parkway. Me and Dooley was meeting with heads, the mayor, assistant mayor, captain of police, captain of medical, etc. We were at the center of setting up security for the Million Women March, and many people don't know that. We met at the diner right there in Collingswood, pulling out the maps. They even gave us walkie-talkies and stuff. We were on the top of the Rand Center, overlooking the water, etc., dealing with security. Many people don't know that, do they? It is us who caused them not to have to pay for the parking of the buses for the Million Woman March. People don't know that either, do they? So his brother goes back on many areas, and he has a beautiful, beautiful mind.
Yes.
Beautiful mind. Every time I look at that brother, I remember when he used to come in my house, came in naive. But when he shed his naivety, he shed his naivety, put on Teflon skates, and they don't need oil. I think y'all already know that. So again, I'm going to give props to Brother Abdullah, and he's maintained the integrity of ancient Moorish philology, and been producing literature, and producing literature, and producing literature. And over the years, I used to test it. I said, Billy, go to the jazz club. Let's do this. He says, no, I'm busy. I'm in my books. I said, oh, all right. I get off the phone. Right.
Yes.
He's one of the ancient ones. I applaud you, good brother. Islam. It's close out time. And for all of you, from amongst you, who come, like the prophet said, from your Sunday school come the guardians of the nation. Deal of it is you have to be taken to Sunday school, but Sunday school, school of the sun, Corona Soul, is the knowledge of what's on top of that ground. So y'all need to get that Circle 7 together, because it goes more than that. And the other deal, I want to remind you one of the things that Sunday school, when the Prophet Raleigh said to one of the sisters at Sunday school, in accord with the questionnaire, he said, who made you? And the sister said, Allah. Prophet paused and he says, who made you? And the sister paused again because she had answered, so she answered a little louder. Allah. I said Allah, that's correct according to the questionnaire. The prophet said, I know. I wrote it. What do you have to say? Principle is, the books are patterns, but they're not the only answer.
Islam.
And he says, the half has not been told. If I told you everything, you go back to sleep. We'll give you a key. That adds no. Most of them will never tell their brothers and sisters, not because they can't, it's because I think too many people are selfishly enamored with positions,
Islam.
as opposed to getting the work done. Take your questionnaire and you look at that pattern, right? Then you give answers. Then take the questions off the answers. Then take the answers and address each one of the answers. Then remove that set. Then address the answers to the answers.
Islam.
Then you're at it.
Islam.
Yes, yes.
All right? Islam. Have a good night. We love you all.
Hassan had a comment on it.
We're going to we're going to close the meeting, then we're going to answer. We're going to close the meeting, answer a couple of questions, and then we'll go. Dr. Naila, we're going to first and close the official meeting. Islam.
Islam. Islam.
Face east again.
It's the corner, y'all. That corner right there is the east.
Can the mother lead us?
Islam.
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 Allah.
Allah.
Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom. And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation. By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through Ali. Ameen. Islam.
I'm in a rock.
Yeah.
By way of announcements, just want to remind you that tomorrow we will have Father Hannibal Bey here with the breakfast chat at 6 p.m. You want to be here. He's going to go indeed tomorrow. So please be here. And also those that are supposed to be at, that are part of the conference planning meeting. That meeting is at 1 p.m. right here, and Grand Sheik will be cooking the lunch.
Islam.
Thank
now,
you.
Open. Can you be the brother, Mike? I'm going to get to you in a minute. He was asking a question earlier, and I wanted him to be able to share it with the masses, meaning that all the questions are relevant. And a lot of questions we asked. Yes. You forgot, because we probably answered in the process of us talking.
Well,
But the deal of it is, the inquiries are generally universal. And so when we answer one, we usually are answering a lot of people who didn't answer.
Islam.
We need to answer. All right? And it had concern with the papers. Remember? Sending them out.
Islam.
Or what condition, well, point, well, I'll cut through the chase. Deal of it is that when you start doing the proclamation papers and you send them out to any of those corporate entities, what happens is that the governors, even though it's actually older you have a duplication of action among the Europeans. The last major one was with Franklin Delano Roosevelt when, and keep this in mind, all of you, so you need to understand what's happening with a lot of things that are taking place right now. They had a meeting with all of the states of subordinate Roman Curia member board of directors acting as governors for the states of New Jersey, state of Delaware, state of Pennsylvania, states of corporate entities, distinguished from the republics and the Commonwealth.
Islam. Yes.
Are we clear?
Clear.
They agreed, being members of the Roman Curia, to pledge everyone's houses, property, and labor to back the United States corporation government's debt that went bankrupt again. Are we clear?
Clear.
This is why we remind people to read House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session June the 5th, 1933, so your concepts will be right. Are we clear?
Clear.
That is a duplication of a refinancing on bonds against your estate that was also initiated by Woodrow Wilson when Noble Ali set up the old Canaanite temple for the restoration of your estate. Are we clear?
Clear.
Which is also a refunding of the bond system when Lincoln bankrupted the United States Service Corporation in 1860. These are duplicitous actions related to the same principle and cause. Are we clear?
Clear.
Now, so they met with all the governors who were really secret Roman Curia members, and they pledged your properties. Are we clear?
Clear.
And your labor. Are we clear?
Clear.
And any future inheritances. Are we clear?
Clear. Clear.
The masses, you're some, what you say, conscious, but the masses have not been aware of that. Are we clear?
Clear.
All politicians are aware of that. Are we clear?
Clear.
All heads of all big churches, mosques, and synagogues are aware of that. Are we clear?
Clear.
The believers and the taxpayers tag they put on you have not been aware of that. Are we clear?
Clear.
So when you do the proclamation, you're telling the world, essentially what you're doing, you're nationalizing your right to your estate.
Islam.
And you're making it known public. Are we clear?
Clear.
It is not a motion, it's an affidavit of fact. Are we clear?
Clear.
In law, moral and ethical, and in law, the holders or the administrators of your estate and trust that they created in a name that sounds like yours are obligated to release it to you.
Islam.
Are we clear?
Clear.
We don't need to talk about people who claimed to love the Rudder and should have been enforcing the law and making law. They breached, and we don't have to argue that. We don't have to prove it. The record shows it, which is again why you're here tonight. Are we clear? They're obligated to release your estate.
Islam.
You don't need to dance through hoops.
Islam.
You don't need to do no UCCs.
Islam.
You don't need to authenticate some birth certificate bank bond.
Islam.
You need to nationalize because you're the heir. Are we clear?
Clear.
They're obligated to release. They are resisting. So the nations of the earth are dumping their T-bonds, which were built on you since the commercial mercenary war that they call the Civil War. You understand that politics and you understand the economic system.
Islam.
It's your estate. They're not dealing with money. They abridged and abrogated Article 1, Section 10. And they've been going in and out of those Cedars Trust and Sister QB Trust that they created on the descendants of the Moors. Are we clear? That's what your economic problems are. Are we clear? However, you collectively need to be moral and ethical as you were before you fell. Are we clear? This is why Raleigh set up the divine and national movement. Not the religious, and national movement,
Islam.
the divine and national movement. And you must go back to the principles of your ancient mothers and fathers and honor those principles. Are we clear?
Clear.
And that American Constitution is the Moorish Constitution. It didn't come from Europeans, it came from you.
Islam.
Are we clear? It is put in place to keep government in check. Are we clear?
Clear.
So when Drawley said, help me in my great missionary work to bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government, that's your duty and your responsibility. Therefore, in accord with Moorish culture, all of you are supposed to be jurisconsuls.
Islam. Islam.
Hell.
Are we clear? That's true.
Islam.
That's true. It is the duty of the nationals and the citizens to enforce the Constitution. It's not an option. It's your duty. Are we clear?
Clear.
So if you want to fix the economic problems, you don't need a job. Job, you're suffering the Job principle.
Islam.
But you're wealthy. That's why Drew Ali said, children, you just don't know. You're just rich.
Islam.
Islam, peace. Enforce that Constitution. Go ahead.
Microphone.
As far as the mortgages and the process of reclaiming our estate.
Say process. Go ahead, thank you. And notice how we always say processes, meaning dancing through hoops, but go ahead.
Yes, as far as the mortgages and reclaiming our estate. Do we have like an actual, what should I say? Do we have an actual method that we're using to where we're kind of coalescing our efforts?
This is what it is. The Old Canaanite Temple and the Moorish Temple of Science, which is also called the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, unincorporated, are civic organizations, which also taught and teach divine law. The religious affidavit was adopted in 1928 because of infiltration into the movement and neutralization in many areas. So the prophet was forced to make changes when he heard that he made that statement.
Islam.
The religious affidavit was adopted because people were coming in from all walks of life and they didn't have a background. You know, they knew that the man, their spirit of the man was right, but they had to learn it. And so in order to protect the people and to protect the movement until people came into this movement with their eyes open, they had to protect it from people who were dark side but were in the movement. Are we clear?
Clear.
Min Abdullah published the Al-Arakan Star in 2000 and 2001. Abdullah, and he can affirm this. Now, because he has a background, now Grand Sheikh Hamadeo was the last of the living Grand Sheikhs to walk with Prophet Noble Ali, and he maintained the Moorish Holy Temple of Science in Newark, New Jersey, whom I visited, and he gave me the bylaws, and he gave me his own personal Quran. First time I met him. And they had the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and the Moorish Science Temple bylaws together. I had a copy of both of them. The masses haven't seen that in general. So when people think that the Moorish Science Temple of America stands alone, the concept is not really honest. And he told me a lot of the background. So I'm presenting it to you. Are we clear? Clear. This is why many people who should be making law and enforcing law do not teach you about the trust that Raleigh set up to protect the Moors. Right. You know, and why they always troll us. They even pay other Negroite Moors with feathers on to troll us and act like we're out to lunch. Because as we teach you, they will be exposed for the COINTELPRO operatives who they are. Now, Grand Chief, Brother Elijah, Neil Bay, Assistant Grand Chief of the Moorish Science Temple of America in Camden, gave me a lot of the original papers from the Raleigh. One of those papers was a letter that the prophet commanded to be read before every meeting, which me and Abdullah published in the paper in 201. Remember that, Abdullah? Boy, did them grand governors and grand chiefs of the Moorish Science Temple get mad at Tajigai. They do not like Tajigai. Now, but they say they love the prophet. Now, the prophet himself declared that that letter should be read before every meeting in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And the only places I've ever heard those letters read was in Asbury Park Temple and in Canaan land, where the Canaan land Moors in Canada. And all the other places I've traveled, they won't touch that letter. But that should let you know who's for the prophet and who's against the prophet. Just as a reminder to you. So you need to understand why some people are upset with us. And also why, it appears to some people that there's a schism or division with the Moorish nation. You get the point? There's some that are carrying out the enforcement of the Constitution, which is at the heart of this Moorish movement, and the others are totally against it because they're really against the prophet. Because that's the heart of the Moorish movement. For those of you who don't believe it, read the divine warning by the prophet for the nations. And also read the prophet's message to America. Historic Moorish leaders' letter to America. With that, I bid you have a grand evening. Thank you for coming. Islam. Peace.